Hi, everybody. This is Shamini Jain with the Consciousness and Healing Initiative, and I'm thrilled to be sitting with renowned healer Cyndi Dale. We're both going to be speaking later today at the Institute of Noetic Sciences Conference on the art and science of healing. And Cyndi, I really enjoyed sitting with you right now this morning for breakfast, and we've had a lot of really fabulous conversations already.
I think we've solved a lot of our problems, haven't we? You know, how is healing and science supposed to interface, and what do they have to offer each other?
Yeah.
Which is really pretty much everything.
Yeah, it really is. And it's just been an honor to sit with you and learn from you and listen to what you have to say. And one of the things that we were talking about that we wanted to kind of share with you is Cyndi's perspective on the role of spirit in the healing process. And I know that many of you are healers, and I know many of you are interested in healing. I think there can be a lot of questions and even sometimes misconceptions about what the role of spirit is in the healing process. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, let me talk a little bit about that, and then I'd love to have you talk about the role of spirit in science as well.
Yeah.
You know, from my perspective, spirit, by whatever name we want to use, you know, God, Allah, the greatness, the goodness, humanity, the one, you know, is the healer, is the great healer. You know, and we can connect with that greater consciousness, that creator, the one, you know, through our own selves. So you don't necessarily have to, you know, kind of pray, worship, you know, have a sense of a religion, but we are spirits. You're a spirit, I'm a spirit. That's the aspect of us that is essential, that's eternal, that knows it's always connected to any and everything good and loving. And so isn't it love that does the healing, no matter how you look at it? You know, even if a child breaks his leg, you know, it's the loving parent that takes the child to the hospital to have it set. You know, so there's always a role for spirit if you define spirit as that quality, that essence, that consciousness of love. So it's the steerer, it's the guide, it's the one that brings us to the place that we need to be, you know, for the healing to occur. You know, so I think no matter how people define the idea, we are spirit anyway.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so beautiful because, you know, there are many different definitions of spirit, and sometimes people think of spirit as, you know, I've had this conversation with healers many times where they'll say, well, you know, it's spirit doing the work, or is it me, or is it spirit doing the work? Who's doing the work? So, you know, and I'll speak with hands-on healers, and if they're like this, they'll say, well, sometimes I can feel something else coming through me. It's honestly, it spooks some people out, you know, who aren't used to that kind of dialogue and discussion. One thing that I've learned from my teacher Rosalind Bruyere is that, you know, you don't, in the healing process, you work with spirit, you work with your own. It's all love. That's absolute.
Right. That's what it is.
And at the same time, you don't get out of the process. Like, you are an agent, you are a human, you're a part of the process of healing. And so whatever guides may also come through you, they're teaching you, and they're teaching you how to do something so that you can do it better next time.
And they're part of the process, but like you're saying, so are you. In fact, I typically, when I'm teaching people healing, you know, and these are human people in the classroom I'm teaching, you know, I tell them you need to be present because frequently the real damage or the problem, the cause of a situation, whether it appears physically, emotionally, mentally, or whatever, you know, is some aspect of the person is stuck, really kind of stuck in time, stuck in trauma, stuck in a drama, you know, doesn't know how to open up, stuck in a past life. Doesn't know how to be present. And in order for them to rejoin their own self, their own soul, their own body, their own process, they need somebody who cares. They need the person there who says, I get what you're going through, who talks to that wounded self, who shares love and compassion to the wounded self, so the wounded self can say, you know what, it's okay that I heal. It's okay that I share what's been happening for me. You know, it's okay that I show up again. So we don't always have to have the perfect technique or know exactly, you know, how to root out the issue or the problem, but as the healer or the friend or the parent, we need to be present. And I believe spirit helps us do that. You know, if we open up, we can more honestly and fully do that as well.
It's so beautiful. It's so well said. Love is the first step. Love is the essential step. It's not even just the first step.
No, it's
really
the healing power.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Do you have any exercises or guidance for those who are looking to connect more with spirit for their own healing process or for healing others?
Yeah. There's a very easy process. It'll take me 3 seconds. literally. Well, I've already spent 3 seconds, but it's very, very quick. I do this every time I'm going to work with somebody, every time I'm going to interface with one of my kids, anytime I need guidance. If I get up in the morning and I want to have a great day, I use this 3-part exercise, and it's all about spirit. There's really only 3 steps, and they all have to do with spirit. So I start by affirming my own spirit, and that's my essential self. You can even feel that, can't you? You don't have to picture anything. There's no fancy words. It's just knowing that essential self, and at some level deciding that's where you're going to come from. And then depending on what you're doing, you affirm the other spirit. That could be an invisible guide. That could be your dog. That between us is the 2 of us. I'm affirming your spirit. And then you bond with that being or those beings, in that wholesome, goodly way. And then the 3rd step is just to acknowledge or call in the greater spirit. And that's where you're really doing the, sort of colloquial turning your life and will over, because it's that greater spirit who's then going to dictate, what do you need to know, receive, feel, sense, see? What are you supposed to say to the other person? What's the energy that's going to be provided? Should you even be doing what it is that you think you're supposed to be doing? You're not devoid or divorced from the process. You're just bringing your best self to it, and you're affirming the same in others as well.
I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's beautiful. And you had asked about, well, what is the role of spirit in science? And listening to you and just experiencing what we just did, we were having some discussions, and we said, okay, so we know, there's what quantum physics has taught us. There is the role of the observer. And so we were saying, Cyndi was saying, you're co-creating all the time, right? You're co-creating with spirit all the time.
We're voting.
You're
whether
voting.
we're silently doing so or not.
Right. We're voting, and we were having this discussion of, well, are you voting by yourself? Or are you voting with others? Meaning are you voting with spirit assistance in the way that you had just described? And so we can choose to co-create that. And so as we were discussing this in the role of science, I was exploring, well, if you look at it from that perspective, then can you ever say that science is a completely unbiased process? That's why we buy into science, right? We buy into science because we believe it's this unbiased process. The scientist is supposedly this blank slate. Well, we know that's not true.
It's not true. It can't be true.
It's not true, because everything is filtered. Even our hypotheses are generated by our consciousness, right?
Exactly.
So our consciousness is filtered through, you can say through spirit. You can say in a way that is the case. So what I love about organizations like the Institute of Noetic Sciences, which is where we are, and our scientists at the Consciousness and Healing Initiative, is that there is that acknowledgement, first of all, that we are part of the process, just like a healer is. The scientist is part of the scientific process. We don't necessarily have to drive it. All the best scientists were actually very open to what the universe was teaching them. You spoke about earlier.
I talked about Descartes, who's the so-called father of empirical science, and yet he was led to the so-called laws of science that are, you have to be able to prove and retest everything, etc., through dreams, through 3 significant dreams that he had when he was struggling, kind of, with who he is, what's he supposed to bring to the world. And ironically, one of the dreams pointed him to the fundamental answers are going to come from a book of poetry. Not a book of facts, which I think just underscores what we're talking about, that we're sort of poets in motion constantly, and we're co-writing with each other, and with a greater source. And so even science is doing the same thing. What
strikes me about this is that the role of, of deeply connecting to spirit can help you in any endeavor. If you acknowledge that you're co-creating in that, then certainly it plays a role in science and scientific discovery and what we call intuition, the information that we get, the hypotheses that we generate, but it can help with everyday life. And at the core of it, as you said, is love.
It's always love. And love is for the self as well as those you are serving. That's why I like with the spirit-to-spirit process that you begin with the self, because what does it serve if you're absorbing other people's illnesses? Maybe they feel a little better and you feel worse. That's not going to get anybody anywhere. So, I think love needs to have that holistic notion that we're included in the process as well.
Yeah. I love that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cyndi.
Very fun.
This is wonderful.
Thank you, everybody.
Talk to you later. Bye.